Good evening, everyone in Schema Therapy Made Simple. I'd like to welcome you all for this very special interview with Dr. Amir Askari. Amir is coming to us from Iran, and he is an advanced schema therapist, and he holds a PhD in clinical psychology. He's the director of Iranian Schema Therapy Institute and the author of this really wonderful book. So I'll just let you say a few words, Amir, to the group.
Yes, I'm honored to attend this online interview about my book, New Concepts of Schema Therapy. First of all, thanks to Nadine for inviting and coordinating my online interview. I am really happy to be with you from Iran.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and making the time to do it. The book is wonderful. I have to say there's just so many ideas and concepts in there that I'm still coming to terms with them myself. So it's really a privilege for me to have you here to be able to talk through some of them, but not all of them. And I can only imagine how many hours went into this book, Amir, because really it's very rich with ideas and tables and diagrams. So congratulations on that. And I just really want to recognize the effort that went into the book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You read this book and you like that diagrams, shapes, tables, and contents. Actually, I cannot tell you exactly how long, but when Corona pandemic happened all around the world, everywhere was closed, and I was at home that time, and I started to write because I had a lot of things in my mind. It was very important for me to find the opportunity to write one day. So it's taken time 1 year, the first year of Corona pandemic.
A little bonus from something that wasn't so great. Yeah. And for people who aren't familiar with the book, I'll just explain a bit that what you've done is extend the coping styles from the 3 original coping styles identified by Jeff Young, which were based on fight, flight, and freeze. And you've very clearly explained these 3 additional coping styles, which are culturally learned. And although a lot of your examples are from the Iranian context and the world that you came from, I have to say that I could resonate with the coping styles in my own culture as well. So that's really largely what you're doing in the book, is really providing an extension of the coping styles, which is quite exciting because a lot of the time in schema therapy, there's kind of recycling ideas, but these actually seem to me like brand new ideas. So I just wanted to really talk about the significance of that. And also that the book is one of only 2 books on schema therapy concepts written by non-Western authors. So that's a very important reason why I wanted to have you come and join us in the group too, because it just adds to the richness of our understanding of people, psychology, and schema therapy.
Yeah. Identifying coping styles was not a difficult task for me. Because in 2008, I wrote a book in Farsi entitled Ethology, about animal behavior.
Right.
Actually, in India, I was strongly influenced by knowledge of one of my teachers. His name is Professor Nevasi, who had 40 years of research experience on monkeys' behavior.
Right.
Yeah, he published a book in Cambridge University about macaques. Macaques is a types of the monkeys in South Africa.
Yep, I've seen them at the zoo. Yep.
I have read many books on evolution and animal behavior too. Also, in Department of Psychology, University of Mysore, there was a biological psychology laboratory. And I also had a small personal laboratory, animal laboratory at home that time. So I focused on the animals' behavior, especially monkeys, and writing some, articles and searching in the books about their behaviors. So, with the deep understanding of animal behavior, you will realize that their reactions do not end with only fight, flight, and freeze. So I knew that there are more than this. So I focus on the behavior of monkeys and also human beings. I found that there are 3 more: fight, flight, freeze, faint, false, and fumble.
Right.
6 F.
Yeah.
So, but adding 3 new F, turning into 6 F, should be done with scientific and clinical evidence, because animal world is totally different from human, and human mind has more complexities.
Yes.
So I try to work on fainting at first. For example, when a cat catches a mouse, the mouse, now having no way to escape and no strength to fight against cat, will unwilling to give up.
Yes.
It may lie on the ground motionless, so that the cat thinks the mouse is dead. I call it faint. And when we want to talk about the coping styles, I find the closest word that I call it indolence.
Right.
I have seen fainting in many animals, not only mouse or others, even among birds. Usually when fight, flight, and freeze responses are not applicable, animals use fainting. So we call it
how do you distinguish between freeze and faint in that example with the mouse?
Yeah. In the fight between cat and mouse, when cat catch mouse, mouse in the freeze, mouse is stopping and shaking, and lots of fear. The body is still hot, and the heart beating so much, a little sweat. So cat understands that the mouse is alive and afraid because of the survival.
I see. So the cat.
But in the faint, the body is cold. The physiological responses. The body is cold, and there is no motion. There is no shaking.
I see.
And sometimes the heart beating is very, very, less. That means cat is very intelligent, but make confused. Maybe the mouse is dead, and you know that most of the animals not interested to eat dead bodies.
Yes. Yeah.
So even there is a physiological difference between freeze and faint.
Yeah, no, I understand that now. And I really wanted you to explain that to everyone listening, because I think that would be a question. And I know you did cover it in your book about those two differences. So the feint is a way to sort of trick the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to continue my sentences. In a schema therapy, we don't call it feint because we want to talk about the coping styles. So we call it indolence because the person becomes indolent in front of his or her schemas. For example, patient with vulnerability schema.
Yeah.
You know, vulnerability schema is not only because of this, is sometimes is because of the financial problems and fear of poverty, you know, as a financial problem. He shows oneself as a penniless despite having enough money with shopping and spending. This is feint, or better to say indolence coping style. It means he has a lot of savings, but because of this schema of vulnerability against poverty, he constantly complains about lack of money or poor financial ability in for spending money. Whenever you say, let's go to the restaurant, he said, no, sorry, I don't have money because that restaurant is so expensive. And children say, why you are not support us because of the finance? As a father, as a mother, they said, no, my salary is very less. How can I pay? This is so difficult. But we know very well he has a lots of savings and like a Scrooge, you know, that famous character, you know?
Yeah.
So that is lots of examples.
Yeah, thank you. And so did you want to just talk about the other two and we sort of just talked about those one by one, or is there something more that you'd like to say about indolence?
I would be happy if I had a time to talk about all of them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I don't know exactly how much we have time for this interview.
It's usually about an hour, so it's plenty of time.
Yeah, that is nice. Yes, good. So you know, each of 18 schemas is associated with these three new coping styles. I mean, indolence, mockery, and gaucherie.
Yes.
There are the three new coping styles. So first, I want to talk about the mockery coping style, because we talk about indolence and I think it's clear. Mockery coping style is when it comes to this coping style, the individual tends to play the clown.
Yes.
Appear bantering and play the fool in different situations. Furthermore, when the individual finds herself in emotionally difficult situations, she wears a smile, tells lots of jokes, prefers to pick a topic to make fun, and starts to fool around, you know. In the mockery coping style, the individual has mastered making faces and imitating the voices and manners of others, you know, not because of the fun, you know, because of, you know, their activated schemas. We can, you know, understand some things between humor and mockery. There are lots of differences I mentioned in my books.
Yes, yeah.
As master, yeah.
So, you know, I think this one, I could really see you talk about that automatic laughing mode. And I think many of us would have had clients about things, and
without any reason.
It's without any reason, and it's a way of escaping the scheme of pain. So I think that was a really great example. And self-mockery, many of us see that as a way to deal with critic as well, you know, making jokes of self. But I thought it was interesting the way that you linked that to schemas as well in the book.
Yeah, especially self-mockery mode is very common among those people who suffer from defectiveness and shame. At times they, you know, laugh with themselves.
Yeah.
And in the other hand, we can find it in the first, you know, in the first area. And this is very important to know that some other schemas like entitlement and grandiosity, not interest to use self-mockery mode. Most of the time they use other mockery mode.
Yes.
When their schema is activated, the interest to, you know, mock others, you know,
yes.
find some things among the appearance, about the talking, about the accent, about the whatever, even clothes, and, you know, mock this.
Yeah. And one of the points that you make in the book was interesting, I think, is that in most religions, which is often the guiding foundation for moral and ethical behavior in any culture that you live in, that mockery is not really encouraged or permitted, and we're told that hurts people, don't do it, and yet it persists in nearly every culture. And these modes go a little way to explaining that, I think, because they do form as a way of coping, to feel superior, or to, I guess, manage your own schemas and things like that. But did you want to say any more about that?
Yeah, of course. Actually, you know, that we are in a global communication. And suppose I watch some comedy movies. Most of them are from Hollywood, and especially my favorite comedian is Adam Sandler.
Yes.
He's very famous. I don't know you know him or not, but interests me.
No, I do. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. when I see his act in the movie, I can recognize that some of them is because of the activation, the schemas of that role, you know, and because in some of the role he play as a narcissist person. In some, you know, other roles he play as an isolated person. So I can recognize that he's mocking others, he's mocking himself because of activating the schemas. And culturally, I understood that same things happen in my country, in Iran, as a Muslim Islamic country. And some things happen in India that I was there for 7 years. I know that culture very well because I was there for a long time. I studied there, I communicate with the people. As a Eastern country or Hinduism, with the Hinduism culture, and some things happen in United States as a Western country, they are very, very close in these modes, especially mockery modes, very close to each other. And culture is not very, you know, make a problem for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I didn't talk to you about the modes that went with the indolence coping styles, but that moral preacher mode, I think we all know that one that you talk about in the book. That
did you find some things in your culture against to this modes, or suppose
no,
do you find
I could see all of
indolence?
them, and yeah, I didn't I could, in all of the coping modes that you suggest, I could see examples of that in my culture, in my client group. So it was very interesting. And one thing I also loved about your book is you give a lot of relationship examples, and it seems to me you've done a lot of couples therapy work with people, and it really is interesting to see those examples, and also the way in which our gender roles allow people, I think you were sort of talking about surrender modes, and how a narcissistic man, for example, will take advantage of the cultural learning for a woman to surrender and then really abuse and manipulate that. And for me, that's fantastic, because so many books I read do not acknowledge that there are gender role inequalities even. So I loved seeing that in your book. And you know, obviously there's a cultural context with the Islamic religion and Christian religions, but some of these things still occur. I would say that happens in my culture too, of taking advantage of expectations and gender role training. So yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Good experience. Thank you.
Yeah.
In Iran, because of the sanctions and the economical conditions, most of the people in this situation, you know, have a lot of the problem because of the finance. So many business is not going wrong, you know, and some of the people lost lots of the money and find lots of the problems. So it's like a Wall Street problems in United States in that decades. So a patient will come to me with the failure schema. He is suffering from failure schema, and we know that it's very painful and unbearable. In different patients, I have observed that when others ask about their works, what happened for them in the you know company, and what happened for them because of their projects and plans, they describe their failures with jokes, ridicule, and sarcastic, you know, sarcastic. Make lots of joke about Iran and America problems, and we have a lots of financial and sanctions problems at home. Lots of joke, and I don't want to waste the time and tell about the jokes. What is this? But they only understand the meaning of that, and they nothing so much, especially in the Nowruz time. Nowruz vacation is a holiday. For 2 weeks, we have a holidays in Iran because of the New Year that we call it Nowruz. It's a festival in Iran, and there is a custom. The Iranian people go to the house of each other and talk about everything. And last year, after publishing this book, I was participating in this festival and talk with the family and friends, and suffer from these financial problems because of the lots of things happen, and most of them make a joke for that, and it was interesting for me to listen to all of them. Sometimes we can talk about the culture, sometimes we can talk about the economical situation, but the origin of this coping styles is common the cultures.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And shall we move on now to gaucherie and explain a bit about that?
Yeah, gaucherie, it was the last coping style that I recognized. Gaucherie is a coping style associated with the fumble reaction, the sixth one, and carries many negative consequences for the individual engaging in it. In this coping style, the individual, despite being well aware of the issues, problems, and dangers associated with doing certain things, still moves forward with doing them, which result in damaging himself or the ones around. He might also risk losing the people close to him, or even losing his job or social credibility. It means if you see, I'm telling you, if you see a person suffer from some schemas and using gaucherie coping style for them, you escape, because this is very dangerous to be close with the person, because it's a problem maker for himself, and if you be close with them, it's a make a problem for you too.
Sure. And the this is gaucherie, just to explain to our audience, the F word that you've put with that is fumble, which I thought was a good kind of, and it seems accidental, and I think in the coping probably they don't acknowledge that it's part of their coping. Oh, poor me, you know, I've done this again, whoops. But it's so consistent that they're always getting into trouble, they're always in some sort of accident, that it has to be part of a coping response. So I'm just thinking of some of the examples that you gave. Is this something that you commonly see in your practice?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. In gaucherie is, if gaucherie is a dominate coping style for most of the patients' schema, making mistakes and causing trouble would be significantly evident in his or her behavior. I, as a therapist, sometimes in the therapy session, when clients say something's wrong and tell me, I did some work, I know this is mistake and make a problem for myself and others. I know this is my schema, but I know why I did it. And I ask myself, why he or she did. It was some, reason. I should find some other coping styles, because I cannot explain this behavior by fight, flight, or freeze, or even faint and fast.
Yes.
That time I focus on gaucherie. When the question come to me, why? And I cannot find the answer in other coping styles, I am going to gaucherie. And what happened to me, that I understood the gaucherie is alive and make a problem for people. I went to some village, and that farmer told me that lots of gray wolves are here, and sometimes they attack our sheep. And it was a very huge month, the highest peak in Europe. And but we catch wolves. I asked him, how you do that? He said, because the wolves come to us to kill sheep. They kill the first one and then attack two other sheep too. Second one, third one, fourth one. And we understood that the wolves came to our farms. So we, respond and we catch them. If the wolf come to the farm and kill one sheep and take, the farmers cannot catch. But wolves do hunting because of the instinct. And the evolution show that most of the sheep are free on the mountain, on the land, and there is no any shepherd to come to them. So generation changing, and now we have a farm, we have a shepherd, we have lots of dogs, and so wolf doesn't know about that. Come to the farm And he thought that he has a lot of time to, killing, eating, taking, but doesn't know everything is changed. So it's a fumble because he said, the farmer told me that the wolves see us, but not escape. But not escape. Still thinking that we don't want to do anything. This is a fumble. We can see in the human beings too. Humans see the danger, but not escaping. Watching and wants to what happened in Iran. There is a very this is a reality. If some natural disaster happen, like earthquake, floods, whatever, especially floods, we had very huge floods 2 months ago. People not escaping, standing and watching, and water take them. They are not freeze. You know why? Because they are taking video and talking about wow, there is a very huge video, very huge flood. It's coming to us. That is so heavy. Now it's very heavy, close to us. Taking video and not escaping. This is fumble.
And so is this holding the video and watching the water coming, it's sort of avoiding the reality, isn't it? And almost not connecting with the need to flee and do something.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's such an interesting
example.
I can think of lots of examples where people do things like that, actually.
Our grandfathers escaping on the mountain when the flood comes. That is dangerous, and it's maybe make some problem for the survive. So they know that by default they should escape on the highest place. But new generation with the fumble, interested in the technology, and doesn't know how to use the technology, standing, talking as a correspondent, and report, the flood. And 2 months ago, more than 150 people died because of the flood, but I'm sure that most of them are fumbled.
Oh, gosh, that is a lot of deaths. And you do name some modes associated with this. So you have the controversial troublemaker mode, the misguide misdirect mode, and the obstructionist saboteur mode. So what do you think with this watching the flood with the video? Which one of those modes would fit better for that?
Yeah, that is funny. I found this mode. I want to tell you an interesting story about that.
Okay.
I traveled to a city, but I don't want to tell the name of the city. And I asked an address. That time it was not, Waze or something like that to ask an address. This is a story for all time. He said, go straight, turn right, again straight. Ask a question about the address again. I said, thank you so much. You helped me. And I went there. When I arrived there, I asked a question, and that new man said, go back. This is mistake. Go back, turn right, then turn left. Stop there and ask a question there. Only 2 kilometers. I said, thank you so much. Just imagine for 1.5 hours, I just, searching for address, and I asked, I don't know, 5 or 6 people about the address, but it was a small city, but all of them, told me
misdirect.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm confused why these people behave like that. Accidentally found a teammate in that place, and I said, "Oh, you speak with my accent." Thank you. Thanks God you are here. Can you tell me this place? You said, see the place? I said, yeah, I can see. Same place, go. I said, really? Yes, he said. Ask the question, why these people behave like that? He said, because they don't like your accent and your, race. That was, in this area, the racism is so much. And they do behavior with the tourists. And they don't like tourists from your place. And I was so sad that time. Yeah, I was so sad that time. And I think to myself that I was very kind with them. And I asked the question, address, politely, why they behave like that. And that time I understood that some schema activated and they went to the gaucherie. They do some fumble and in the mode, misguide, misdirect mode, MNN. They show me a wrong address.
Right.
This is misguide. This is a very classic example of misguide that I had experienced. When the people don't like us, maybe they don't tell the clear answer. Maybe this is very common about some cultures. Suppose if you go to some country, when you speak English, they just watch you and tell you, I'm not speaking English, speak with my language and not answer you.
Yeah.
But this is good. This is good. He said, I don't want to talk with you with your English language. If you talk with my language, I answer you. But in misguide, misdirect mode, this is totally different. They know your language, but misguide.
It's like a little punishment, isn't it? And a way of being superior to the other. Yeah. So interesting. And one of the things I did really want to ask you about was the concept of Murk Heritage, because that's a feature of the book in, I can't remember which section now. And I just would like you to explain what Murk Heritage is to everyone listening today.
Yeah. You asked me this one into email to.
I was like, what is this Murk Heritage?
I thought that maybe it was not clear for the people to understand this story. That's why when you ask me, I read again the chapter. It's the second chapter at the end of the chapter. I read again, and for me, as an author, is very clear. I should ask others about that. But now I want to talk about this.
Yeah. So can you explain to me what Murk Heritage is?
Children learn many behavioral responses from their parents and peers. For example, if in a family, lying and sulking and secrecy between the parents are repeated regularly, the child, although hurt, but internalize and uses those behaviors. Suppose they go to the school and lying to other children and even teacher, because the big liars are the parents. Then I notice secrecy. Secrecy is totally different from lying. Right. Secrecy means hiding some things or void of some things. When I notice a secrecy between a couple, I look for it in their in the secretive person's family and find out that his parents also have different secrets and hide from each other.
Right.
Because that person observed hiding and secrecy between his parents.
Mm-hmm.
In his marital life, without any reason, hide some things from the husband or wife. And when the spouse understood that about this, asked, why are you hiding? Why you don't say? And the answer is, I never lie. And he said, I know you never lie, but you never talk. You do secrecy. Secrecy, lying, salting, and many, things like that. Flattery, bragging, treat without action, half, forgery. I call them as a dark heritage because they are very deep in the culture of the South family, and generation took it to the next generation and show it when they have a communication with the people. This is where I tell the clients that there is a dark heritage in your family, which is a secrecy or lying or whatever, and you have brought it into your marital life, and your wife or husband is upset about this. Maybe you don't know exactly because this is very common in your family, but this is very strange for your wife or husband. So dark heritage is rooted in the culture of the family, we are sure. It is interesting that some things the family does not know about it, dark heritage, but friends, other family, and even neighbors know it and identify that family with that dark heritage.
Right.
So
they might say, oh, that family, they're all liars, or that family, they're all
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So lying without any reason, secrecy without any reason, and other dark heritage. Some behavioral strategies also lead to dark heritage. In my book, I talked about 5 behavioral strategies that we cannot share it in 6 coping styles. There are totally different. We cannot, match them together. So I call them behavioral strategies, like camouflage. I hope my accent is clear.
Yeah, I get it. Yep, camouflage.
Yeah,
with you.
Yeah, camouflage. And animals camouflage for their survival, like butterfly.
Yeah.
When you touch the tree, suddenly, butterfly go. And oh, I didn't see that. It means that butterfly camouflage for the survival. This is an important strategy for human beings too, especially in military, in sport, something like that. It is neither escape nor surrender. This is important to know. We have a coping style. Avoidance and surrender. It is neither avoidance nor surrender. We see camouflage in a school among students. They hide behind the person in front because they don't want teacher, understand what they do. So they camouflage behind the person in front. After a while, one has camouflaged about everything, maybe. The Murk heritage of the past has come down to us. These are traits that are completely related to our behavioral strategies. We have these strategies instinctively, or we have observed some of them in our childhood environment.
Okay.
So if you see the chapter second, at the end of the chapter second of this book, I talk about the behavioral strategies and this heritage that is very important to know. Read about lots of the examples.
Yes, and I think that is, as I said at the beginning, there really are just a lot of ideas and things that you express in the book. So it's quite a lot to take in, and you've shared a lot with us. But yeah, thank you for clearing. I thought that maybe that's what it was, but I wasn't quite sure. But I think you've explained that the Murk heritage is this intergenerationally learned relational behaviours that people are unconsciously repeating, as if that's just how humans are. And of course, in a new relationship or amongst others, that can create difficulties for them. And as a therapist, we can help explain what we notice and sort of track where that has come from, so the person can find alternative ways to be in relationships. So yeah, thank you for clarifying all of that with me. So we've got about 15 minutes left. I'm just sort of thinking what would be the best way to use the time that I have remaining with you. Yeah, so if people wanted to start using the new coping styles in their work as therapists, what would you suggest to be? I mean, obviously they need to read the book and understand a little bit more, but what would be some other ways that they could start applying this to their therapy work?
That is a very important question, because all of things should help us in therapy session. I try to write and introduce these 3 new coping styles in the simplest possible language. Therefore, I recommended that people read the book carefully first. I have given many clinical examples in the book that make the concepts clear for them. Then try to find examples about themselves and their clients in their lives. That is very important. My colleagues in Peru and Mexico that I conducted the workshop about the book there, send me lots of examples about their experience in therapy session, and even about their cultures, and also some things happen for themselves that before this they didn't know. I never think that I can find the colleague from Peru in Latin America. Just imagine what is different from Middle East that we are here to Latin America, that the culture is very close. They tell me, I share their knowledge and experience in therapy session, and there is no difference. And this is very, easy when they understand the examples of the books. They can find it in therapy session. We mostly deal with the 9 modes introduced in the book. 3 modes introduced for indolence coping style, 3 modes for mockery, and 3 more for gaucherie. I asked the therapists, teach them 9 moods, I mean, to their clients with lots of the examples and ask them to find these moods in their life. At the end of the book, there is a question with 45 items.
Right.
I call it Tehran Schema Mode Inventory, TSMI, because we have a SMI by Jeffrey Young, and this is very famous for modes. We use it. It has more than 100 questions, items. And in TSMI, in Tehran Schema Mode Inventory, they can answer to the 45 items, and there is also a scanning to find if someone answered the question, their coping modes are identified. In the following, we use those coping modes in regular meetings. We talk about the modes in therapy session, and recently my patients came to me and say, I am very happy. I stopped self-mockery mode. And whenever I want my effectiveness and shame activated, this schema is very difficult. Whenever I want to go to mock myself, I stop myself and remember your words, your voice as a therapist. Never use this self-mockery mode for yourself, and just tell to yourself, I am a good person. I'm trying to behave good with myself and others, and so I never use self-mockery again. So I learned them how to, this is not very difficult. This is very easy. I learned them how to use this one. Even for those people who wants to misguide and misdirect others, I tell them, just think about yourself. Why you want to misguide somebody? Is it jealous? Is it jealous as a Murk heritage in your family? Or some schema like entitlement schema activated?
Yeah,
that's why you want
to punishment to others could make,
or maybe punishment as a schema activated.
Yeah,
sometimes in competitive, you misguide others because you want to be first. You can see this.
Yes,
this one in other living standards too.
So it sounds like with the colleagues that you've trained in Peru and Mexico, it's really just been about looking for the modes in their work and using the examples from your book as a guide. And that's the way to do it. And I just asked this question because a lot of people just know the original schema thing. So for them, it's a big leap to start to take in all this new stuff. But one of the things I love about the Schema Therapy community is that it is evolving. And, Jeffrey Young, he's great like that, in that he encourages the expansion of the model. He doesn't protect it as it was, that it has to stay the same. And so I just wanted to you to talk on that, to give people some encouragement to start to expand beyond the fight, flight and freeze. Just before we finish up, I know I didn't talk much about those modes from the first one, so we'll just explain them now. So the hesitant imagine mode is one of the indolence, and the distressed helpless mode, and the moral preacher mode. And I mentioned that I think many of us know the moral preacher mode, where people tell everyone how they should be doing anything, how they should live. It's very common in politicians and religious leaders, I think, and then they don't actually do that. But exactly. The hesitant imagine mode, I thought was fascinating, because I've seen it myself, and I think even I can be a little bit that sometimes. It's this rich fantasy world which takes you away from the schema, and sometimes clients will come in and talk about these imaginal worlds, but it's not really what's happening in their life either. So I thought that was a great mode. I really liked that. And this, you had it, I can't remember which one. There was an example of a man who was going to buy an apartment in the book. We got all, which mode was that? Was that distressed helpless or was it the hesitant? I can't remember now, but do you remember that example from your book?
Yeah.
Maybe you can remind me.
About some movie. It was about some movie, Momo, that I mentioned that that child was has no mother, and imagine a tiger that touch it and very softly and very kind with him, and it started the examples from the tiger in the movie of the Momo that Sufyan Loren play a role in this famous movie. It's a new movie, and then I went to the lots of the example from my clients who fell in love in different way, and that time I was confused because in Iran we have a very rich poems and literature, Persian literature, and the philosophy is very rich. So we have different types of the love, and with the different special Farsi names for that. So when client come to me as a Iranian therapist, I can understand which type of that. But if they migrate to other countries like Australia, Canada, or European countries, and just imagine what is happening in their therapy, rooms, because this is very funny. They cannot understand about what their clients say exactly. That's why I focus on the different types of the law. And it was interesting for me to know that what they want exactly. Some of them say, I love somebody. It's a very, very good person. And talking 1 hour about the good traits and characters and personality of that fellow. And I also respect to that fellow and say, this is very interesting. I meet him. And the next session, she also again talk about that fellow and again, show me the letters that wants to send to him. And I asked, why you are not sending? She said, yeah, I tell you, let me opportunity. I will tell you, I will explain. After 3 or 4 sessions, I understood that there is nobody. Yeah. Really nobody. just this is a boy. It means she made some person, somebody in the mind, talk with, going travel together, dance together, go to restaurant, sport together, study together, sharing knowledge together, but there is nobody. They are in the fantastic life. And how much this is reality to come to therapy session and talk about that person with therapist. Not only 1 or 2. So with these clients, I thought that it's a type of the schizotypal personality disorder. No. It's the hallucination or delusions. No. It's the types of the illusions. No. What is this? Why is like that? It's mostly happened to those people with emotional deprivation schema. And that time I studied research on that. So even in the movies, even talk with the Indian friends and colleagues, we find these moods in different cultures. Before that, I thought that this is only available in Iran. But some of the professors came to Iran from other countries, even in Europe. But I believe that the population. I want to talk about the epidemiology and prevalence of this mode in Iran. I think because of the culture, because of the poems, because of the some limitation for women, this is more common, most common in Iran. Rather than
I think just sort of we have to wind up in a minute, but really I think you've raised some just excellent points in this story, that there is this rich history in Iran, and that comes through in the book, a lot of the examples that you give from writing. And so for those of us who are working with people from Iranian culture and perhaps some of the other Islamic cultures, we probably wouldn't have much understanding of that richness of ideas and what different types of loves are, and what the poets have said in the past that people may reference in their psychological world. So even from that perspective, I think reading the book is very interesting. And again, you've just, really showing the richness of your therapist experience in that example that you have. It's clear to me as I read the book, you've worked with a lot of people, a lot of relationship issues, and I thought it was a very rich offering. And so thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time with us. The video will be watched as a recording in the group for some time, and I'm sure people will really enjoy it. So thank you, Amir. It's been my absolute pleasure to have you here with us in Schema Therapy Made Simple tonight.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for inviting me for this online interview. I'm really happy. Also, I am very happy if the people invest to watch this interview in your Facebook. And I hope one day we see each other and talk about schema therapy, that all of us love it, face to face together. I think there is a conference in 2023 in Australia, and I don't know you participate there or not, but I try to participate there.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to be there in Melbourne because it's a close flight for me. So maybe I'll see you there. And we'll just say goodbye to Facebook, and I'll speak with you briefly after we come off the live stream. Thanks, Amir. Bye-bye.